The #1 FM talk radio station in the Inland Empire. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Express 106.5 FM.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the International Wealth Builders Radio Show with your host, Dr. Sharon Barnes. I'm so happy that you're tuning in today. Very excited to have you with us. On our show, we talk all things real estate with the emphasis on accessory dwelling units. Now, some of my followers has told me that I need to remind them a little bit when I say ADU, what it stands for and what an accessory dwelling unit is. Well, an accessory dwelling unit is a small living space which is added to your existing home. And that property, that living space can be a garage conversion, it can be a detached single living unit. It can be attached by a junior ADU, less than 500 square feet. It can be a stick-built construction, modular, prefab. California, we have this housing crisis, and they basically have been evolving the laws under accessory dwelling units for all hands on deck, which means that most homeowners who've never been builders or developers before now have the opportunity to leverage the property they already own and control. So here at our show, we try to bring you local resources and information so that you can take advantage and change the wealth dynamic for your family and be a part of the solution to our ever looming housing shortage. So today, I'm very excited to have Bill with us from U.S. Modular. And as I said, we talk real estate and we emphasize the accessory dwelling unit. But today we're in for a special treat because U.S. Modular has hundreds of projects that they've completed. And they do not only accessory dwelling units, they do multifamily, they do multi-generational, and they do commercial modular units. So with SB 9, which is one of the recent evolutions in the law of accessory dwelling units, we're getting a lot of calls from people who basically want to do a small development on their property and leverage that property they already own and control to the maximum. And I think that modular could be the answer. And US Modular is definitely a resource here that we want to get to know and understand a lot better so we can increase our housing inventory. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to have you. So just mentioned the name U.S. Modular Inc. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, what you would want us to know?
Sure. U.S. Modular Inc. is a full-service general contracting firm started back about 2007. There's three partners in there, have a combined experience of probably 65, 70 years in the general contracting and real estate development industry, and most of that is in the prefabricated realm. And prefabricated construction is just utilizes factory-built housing or structures where the unit itself is built inside a factory in a controlled environment, and that unit is brought to the site where we assemble them on site, on the site where we've already done the utilities and the foundation work. So it's a faster process, and we like it better because there is some cost savings there. And we think it's less disruptive to not only the residents of the home if it's an ADU, but the residents of a neighborhood if you're building even a single-family home or a multifamily home, because most of that loud banging and cutting and sawing is done in the factory. So you have a minimal amount of time on site and minimum amount of noise, so the impact locally is less, cost savings, and the fact that we can build it faster. It's just a win-win-win all the way around.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, I understand you're like a one-stop shop with modular, like from the design or the dream. If I'm thinking about doing an ADU
Right.
and I don't know what is next, if
Sure.
I'm thinking about going modular, then you're the one to call. Can you kind of explain that one-stop process?
Yeah, we've kind of used. I'm going to use the In-N-Out burger approach of building in that We don't do as much custom work as we used to, where we get a piece of paper out there and draw up a plan. We probably have 50 pre-designed accessory dwelling units, a size that will fit on most lots. And we have another 50, 60 pre-designed single-family homes that would fit on the majority of lots. If you're talking about multifamily, multi-story, I mean, that's a completely different animal. That would be a custom design where we'd get designers and architects involved. But right now, as Sharon had mentioned, the accessory dwelling unit market is really blowing up. There's a lot of interest for people because it's really an affordable way to add housing in California. And a lot of people are using it for as a rental property, so it creates income for themselves that they can help pay off their primary mortgage. We have a lot of people that are also bringing in aging parents, pulling them out of maybe a high-rise senior housing project. During COVID, I know I had a few people that built an ADU because they were worried that mom was stuck in this building and couldn't get out, so they wanted her to be closer to home. Or kids right now, you have kids coming out of college that can't afford to live in Southern California, so we have quite a few parents that are building an ADU in the backyard, and now the kids are close to home. It's a cost savings for them, but it's also a wealth builder for the parents because they're now generating an increase in value for their property.
Yeah, that sounds great. And, I've talked to hundreds of homeowners in the area. One of the first things they're always asking is how much it costs.
Sure.
And when we're talking about, say, ground up construction, there's so many moving parts and different parties. We need the architect before we get the contractor. It's hard to give them a more solid price.
Sure.
You being a one-stop shop and being able to take them from dream to completion. Can you talk about how you can estimate the cost
Sure.
or how the cost factor is in?
Sure. Being a one-stop shop and working in most every city in Southern California, the major cities, LA, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, and a lot of the smaller cities around and counties. We know what your development costs are going to be, your development fees, your school fees. We know the cost of the building because it's a prefabricated structure, so I know what my cost on that building is. I know what my transportation costs are. So we have a pretty tight budget when it comes to what is the cost going to be. And it's square footage dependent, it's amenity dependent. It's like anything else. You can have a car a car could be brand new and cost $10,000, or you can have a car that's brand new and cost $100,000. Depends on what you have in that car. Same thing with housing. If you want a simple structure that has simple appliances and finishes, you're going to obviously be on the lower end of the spectrum. And our ADUs, if we want to talk specifically about ADUs, we have all-in pricing that starts probably, in the $165,000, $170,000 range would be an entry-level small accessory dwelling unit, and that is inclusive of the design, the engineering, the foundation, the transportation, the house, the connection to the utilities, school fees. So we take the guesswork out of it, because a lot of times people don't have an idea. They want to do something, and then they have either sticker shock and says, well, I didn't realize it was going to cost that much. Well, I try to let people know up front, this is your range. These are your prices. And on our website, we basically say there's no surprises. We have all of our pricing listed on our website for every plan that we offer, and that's all in pricing. And obviously, people can upgrade from there. Those basic prices are going to have pretty simple amenities. But people say, well, what's it going to cost for granite countertops? Well, I'll give you that price. Or what, if I want to go with a 9-foot sidewall instead of an 8-foot sidewall? Or what if I wanted to do a different type of exterior cladding? Well, we could do all of that. But so we can give you an idea before you get too far down the road to know what this is going to cost you.
That's great because, really, if the estimate is pretty solid, and like you say, if it's in your realm of reality and your budget, and that sounds like something you want to go for, then we can get started and not really have a big sticker range at the end increase or disappearance. So we have, sometimes people get started. I have clients that, were like 70, 80% finished with the accessory dwelling unit, and their contractor disappeared because they went over budget and they didn't have the money to finish. So,
Right. Well, our homes, because prefabricated, and a lot of the homes we build, and there's confusion in the industry when we use the word prefabricated. Prefabricated is kind of an encompassing term that includes a manufactured home, which is a home built to the federal building code. Modular, which is a home that's built to the local building code. Both are built in the factory. Both are built with 95% the same materials that you would use in a site-built home. It just happens to be built in the factory, built to a different code. And then if you get into multifamily, it's a different animal. But prefabricated covers modular, covers manufactured, covers commercial modular. A lot of schools, you'll see modular buildings on there. That's a commercial modular space. I would say right now that majority of the homes that we're building as accessory dwelling units are using manufactured housing, which is built to the federal building code. And primarily, people are using that manufactured housing because the price point is pretty attractive.
that sounds great. Bill, I'm just so excited to continue our conversation. We have some questions and situations that's come up regarding modular in some of our surrounding cities. So stick with us. When we come back, we'll continue talking to Bill from U.S. Modular about modular construction.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Okay, we're back with continuing our conversation with Bill Kavanaugh from U.S. Modular, and we're talking about modular construction, and he was laying out how U.S. Modular can help you from your dream of doing an ADU or custom home all the way through construction, and giving us some cost tips. And right now we're going to go further into that conversation. One thing I wanted to ask, because we've had people buying park models, or we have ADUs, and then some of them are park models, and sometimes they're priced cheaper, and we have, people kind of do-it-yourselfers going around, and they buy a park model, go to put it on their lot, and find out it's not permitted by their city and that type of thing. So again, benefit of having a one-stop shop is that they can come to you first, and we'll know all that stuff up front. Secondly, can you tell us a little bit about the difference between park models and, say, manufactured prefab and modular?
Sure. Again, in the industry, there's a lot of terms that are thrown around: prefabricated, modular, tiny homes, park models, ADUs. A tiny home is a park model, and a park model is actually built to the RV code.
Okay.
And the RV code, although a park model looks like a home because it does not have an engine, it doesn't self-propel, it's designed originally for RV parks or mobile home parks. You can't be up, you have to be 400 square feet or less for a park model. They're cute little homes. One of the issues is in the state of California, a park model, a tiny home, an RV is not designed as a full-time residence. It's designed as a temporary residence, and the state law doesn't allow you to live in one of those for more than 30 days. So even if you're in an RV park or a mobile home park, you're in theory supposed to check out and sign out, and so the state could come in and see that you didn't live in that thing year-round. There are 2 cities in Southern California that I'm aware of, and there's probably 5 or 6 in the state that does allow a tiny home / park model to be used as an accessory dwelling unit legally. That's Los Angeles and San Diego. Cost-wise, your price at the end of the day is going to be about the same as if you built a similar square foot manufactured home. So if you're in the Inland Empire and you like that 400 square foot or smaller space, which is going to be on the lower end of the pricing spectrum, I would recommend going with a prefabricated manufactured home as an accessory dwelling unit because it's legal. Okay. Now, at some point, I think more and more cities will allow the park models, but there's just more options right now, and it's an easier process. And as Sharon alluded to, a lot of times when we get involved in a project, as Sharon does, she's going to do a site assessment, a site evaluation to make sure, one, will an accessory dwelling unit fit on your property? Do you have enough land? Do you have space to meet the setbacks that are required by the local and the state jurisdictions? And that's a very important part because a lot of times, I just was on a site the other day and the backyard was on a pretty significant hillside. Well, it doesn't make any sense to do something there. They're better off doing maybe a garage conversion. But for the most part, we'll give you an idea, and we can do, and Sharon's got some great technology and software where she can actually map out a site and show you what would fit in your backyard or on your side yard and what would fit. And then that guides you toward, what is my price point that will fit in that space. And then we could look at that together, and see can I roll that unit in the back if we're doing a prefabricated construction? And a lot of times I don't have access to the backyard because of the configuration of the home, so we'll have to use a crane to crane those sections of home into the backyard, which is not, it's a number, but it's not a deal breaker in most of the cases. So we have to look at that, and there are some moving parts and some factors there like utility lines or trees that we have to make sure that will fit. So our goal always is to work with the client, with Sharon and her software, and make sure before anybody commits, financially or gets too far down the tracks, does this fit physically? And if it fits physically, then we have to look at budget-wise. Does it fit budget-wise?
Exactly.
And if it does, we check those 2 boxes, then we can take to the next step. Now let's get into what specific model do you want, what amenities do you want, and then what are the timelines that we need to do to get this project in.
Yeah, that sounds great. And the software, that I utilize under ADU Advantage, I just believe a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so what we're able to do is to pull up any property within the state of California and actually put a ADU floor plan there. And, if you book a call with me, then we can go through where you want to position it, where you want the door opening, if you have some other amenities you want to add to the backyard or that type of thing. And so when you go out to have further conversations with contractors, developers, or the city and the county, you have something tangible that we can look at, and it's not just in your head trying to use the right words at the counter, because that makes a difference. Like I talk talk to people, they go down to the city and they're trying to do it themselves and they're asking certain questions and they get an answer and it's like, no, that's not consistent with the law.
Sure.
And they said that because you used the wrong term. And so we're here to help them, but that is one great help that way.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, one of the things, we have a staff that full-time all they do is deal with the cities for permits. I mean, ADU laws were enacted by the state of California to make this a simple project and simple process. Unfortunately, that memo doesn't appear to have gotten to the local building departments because it's not a simple process.
Exactly.
There's a lot of moving parts. There's typically 4, 5, 6 different departments within the building department that you have to deal with. As Sharon mentioned, you have to use the right language. You have to know what you're dealing with. And as a one-stop shop, we assume all that responsibility. We talk to the building departments. We work with the public works departments. We work with the utility companies. So we answer all of their questions. We design the package for submittal to get an approval as fast as possible. So there are people that try to do it themselves and they get very frustrated because now even with COVID being somewhat over, there's still a lot of departments that you can't talk to. You have to try to do things online, which is very complicated. You have to have drawings that match their format. You have to have terminology that matches their format. So it's something that we've learned over the last, with these ADUs over the last several years. And again, we have a full-time staff that all they do is deal with the building departments, and it keeps them busy 8 to 10 hours a day pushing permits.
Exactly. Because with the law, I mean, we have the goal, we have the need, for housing. And basically, as I said earlier, to me, it was like a call for all hands on deck. If you have the land and you have the desire to help increase our inventory, here's a way to make it easier, alleviating some of the impact fees if it's less than 750 square feet and so forth. But there's a gap between that and understanding what needs to be done and to walk it out. And so as an ADU consultant, that's where I come in, to hold the hand because there's so many moving parts. And like you said earlier, we have to have the right team. And so to empower that homeowner, because a lot of us have never built or developed anything before. And I reflect back on when my husband and I bought our a new home, right, from the stick in the ground. Mm-hmm. And going down and losing the papers and the things they did over and over again, and in moving in with a relative that's supposed to be in like 60 days so we could, move into the new house, and turns out to be almost 6 months because of delays. And that was with a major contractor, home developer that had the infrastructure, that had all the plans, and still couldn't keep the timeline. And so now you're trying to do this on a smaller scale in your backyard, and you need experts. And so there are people out here to hold your hand and walk you through and introduce you to people like U.S. Modular to help you get it done.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is Sharon mentioned the 750 square feet. There are there's a lot of rules out there that unless you do this on a daily basis, you're probably not going to be aware of. So it helps having a consultant, helps having a contractor that does this on a full-time basis. Because not only, a lot of people have, I forget, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, right? I want this 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom ADU in my backyard. Well, does it fit?
Exactly.
And does it fit your budget? And a lot of times it doesn't, right? It doesn't physically fit, financially it doesn't fit. So working with a consultant like Sharon is going to help you massage that, where you say, here's where we need to be. And the little rules like the 750 square foot rule is a significant number, because we just finished a project where initially they were going to build an 800 square foot ADU down in San Diego County, and the development fees were close to $15,000.
Exactly.
And when we shrunk that to 748 square feet, that $15,000 went away.
Exactly.
So that's a $15,000 swing by losing, a couple of feet here and there.
Yeah.
So those are things, our goal always is, and in talking with Sharon, the goal is trying to get that client the right product at the right price, and being your advocate. Because a lot of times if you don't have an advocate, you're going to get put at the bottom of the pile. You're not going to get the right answers, and it helps to have somebody that's pushing for you on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's very well said and very much needed. So we're going to take another break. This is Dr. Sharon Barnes here with the International Wealth Builders Radio Show, talking to Bill Kavanaugh with the U.S. Modular about modular construction. So stay with us. We have more great information coming after the break.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate Radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
We are back from our break and we're continuing our conversation, modular construction. And so, we're still dealing with COVID and different things, but we're opening back up. We know we having supply chain issues and inflation and all these things going on in the world, but we want to talk about the availability of modular, the timelines, what we're looking at today, kind of get, fact from fiction. Are we a year and a half out, or are we months? Where are we, Bill?
Well, now we're in a good space. During COVID, building prefabricated, where your homes are built in the factory, everything shut down. Factories were closed, workers were furloughed, you couldn't get materials. So it was not uncommon to be a year to 2 years out to order a home during COVID. Right now, the factories are back. They've got their workers back. Supply chain seems to be loosening up, so we are getting materials, although they've had to change because some of the materials were not available. So right now, if we put in an order for a home now, it could be 3 to 4 months for me to get a home built in the factory, which is a good timeline because typically right now you're going to be 3 to 6 months at a minimum to get a building permit. So what our goal always is to do is to try to time it where we have the home ready, built at the factory at the same time I have my permit in hand. And so that is one of the benefits of prefabricated or modular construction, is that we can do things concurrently, where I can be processing permits at the same time the home is being built.
Okay.
So as a site builder, you can't do anything until the home is built, then you start the project. Well, as a prefabricated contractor, I can have the home built if I know if there's not any issues that I see that the city's going to cause, we don't meet setbacks. So if I'm confident that that home is going to be approved, we'll build that home before I have a permit in hand, with the idea that when I do have the permit in hand, the home's already built. So now, you're probably 30, 45 days after I get a permit, to get that home delivered, set, and connected. So it's a pretty abbreviated timeline.
And then the certificate of occupancy after that, we get within 30 days from the city, or that varies?
Typically, once we get a home on site, you're about 30 to 45 days. We're still beholden to the cities, the inspectors. There's a couple of cities out here in the Inland Empire that they have a shortage of inspectors, so it could take me 2 to 3 weeks to get an inspection, which is kind of crazy, but that's what it is right now. Or other cities, I can call in for an inspection, and the next day I have an inspection. So, that's why you always want to give a range, 30 to 45 days, sometimes 60 days, because the inspectors can't get out there. But because prefabricated construction is designed and approved by the state of California, the local building department is not involved in any inspection of the building itself.
Oh,
They're
okay.
really only involved in the inspection of the foundation footings, anything I touch on site, and the utility connections. And then they do inspect where you put the building together. So any structural connections, they'll look. But it's a pretty minimal amount of inspections that you get from the local building department, because the state of California inspects the building as it's in the factory. So that's another advantage, because you're not dependent as much on the local building department.
Oh, that sounds great. But when you talked about the timeline and about you being able to work while concurrently with permits going through, can you talk a little bit about the financing, at least that's sequencing the financing from a client if they decide to go forth with U.S. Modular and they have their model that they want to purchase?
Sure.
Then how does that work from deposit to payment to getting it there?
So specifically for accessory dwelling units, using a prefabricated manufactured home, the financing is designed to protect the client. So you're typically going to get two contracts. You're going to get a home. You're going to purchase the home, and that home is going to be purchased through an escrow.
Okay.
So you're going to put your money in escrow, and that escrow account pays the factory direct.
Okay.
So that protects the client.
Okay.
And then on the site construction, which would also include the permit processing and the permits and fees and anything we do on site, that would be an bill as we go. So,
Okay.
you'll be paying fees, and it'll probably be 3 or 4 draws as we go along. Okay, up front, we're going to have to pay for the permits. So that'll be one payment you have to make. Then we have to do utilities and foundation excavation. So that'll be a second payment. Okay, now the home is delivered. We have to do the structural connection. That's a third payment. And then any site work that we do, concrete work, sidewalks, any of that work, landscaping would be done as your fourth payment. So it's over time. So you never want, in anything with us or with any other contractor, you really don't want to get out ahead of your
Exactly.
work. And that escrow account is meant to protect the client, and then our billing is always done as, you'll see the work that we're doing, so you'll know what you're paying for.
Okay, so once they have that estimated budget from the cost of the structure from the home they're building and your site estimates and whatever, and they can get their financing in place, whether they're coming in cash or they're coming in with a loan, and then handle it through escrow, similar to any other real estate transaction almost, with some
Correct.
fund control.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, just the house goes through escrow.
Okay.
And the site construction is just direct pay. You as
Okay.
the client would pay us. You'd be invoiced. It would
Okay.
be based on the contract. And on the contract we would create for the site work, it would be we would have a draw schedule.
Okay.
So you'll know in advance. Okay, over the course of the next 6 months, I'm going to have to make these payments, and it'll tell you right there what is the amount, and what is it for.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great. So, Bill, I'm just excited about modular about modular construction now. So, I want to talk about SB 9. SB 9 is an area of the law that allows lot splits or multi-units to go on lots. And here in the Inland Empire, I mean, if we look at the high desert a few years ago, we had like one house per 5 acres. We have one house per half an acre, and we have some of the smallest houses and bigger lots in the state right now. And so we're starting to get a lot of homeowners that are interested in leveraging that property with the maximum number of units. And SB 9 is very attractive on paper. I know it's fairly new,
Sure.
but we're getting calls that they want to do a ADU, but then they want to add additional units. Can you talk a little bit about how the modular can be used in SB9 small developments?
Sure. Well, SB9, again, it's new, so a lot of the cities haven't really wrapped their head around it yet. The state law came out, and with SB9, the cities still have to adopt their version of SB9. So it's still a work in progress, but it's basically allows single-family homeowners to do a lot split and then create up to two housing units per lot. So what was now a single-family lot eventually could become 4 units, 4 livable units. It still takes time. It still takes money because you have to bring civil engineers involved to do your lot split and do a lot of that work.
Right.
So one of the things you could do, and we've recommended to a couple of clients, is you plan. You plan accordingly. You say, the easy thing to do is do an ADU because that's allowed. That's the fastest process. So you design your property so you have an ADU that's going to be within the lot of one of the lot splits. So you don't want to put an ADU and then say, I darn, it's in the wrong spot because now my lot split is not going to take place. So if you plan accordingly, you can do it where you can have your primary and your ADU while you're going through the SB9 lot split process, and at least that'll happen faster than the lot split. And then once you do get your lot split in place, a lot of times we can do some preparatory work for your utilities. So we can bring sewer lines and bring sewer laterals and bring utilities and prep that lot. So when we do get the lot split enacted, a lot of that work's already been done.
Oh, that's great. Because I know that in some cases we've had the architect to position the ADU in a position where it doesn't hinder the access from the road, that we kind of look at connecting to the utilities and so forth, and to show the proposed lot split and then submit that to the city at the same time. But you're saying that lot split kind of gets its own life going through the city while the permits are going through?
I would do it in 2 phases.
Okay.
You and I talked a little earlier about phasing. That's a great term to use for this type of a project. If you were thinking about trying to get 4 units on there,
yes,
I would do it phases, and phase 1, and it could be concurrent phases, but it's still 2 separate processes. Okay. Phase 1 would be just, design the lot and start the ADU process, but then also process your SB9 lot split at the same time. In my experience is that SB9 lot split is going to take longer just because it's a newer process. You have to get civil engineer. They have to do a lot of that legwork up front. So it's just going to be a longer process, but they can go concurrent. And then, once you do get your ADU permit, you can start that construction. And when the SB9 lot split takes place, you're already ahead of the game because you already got utilities, you already got your ADU in place, and then we already know what we're going to do for your, 3rd and 4th home on that second lot.
Okay, because the accessory dwelling units are still limited to the residential 4 units or less, but you also do 2-story construction on modular, is that correct?
Yeah, with modular construction, with wood frame modular construction, you go up to 5 stories. And we did a big project here in Redlands, a 3-story, 87-unit project in Redlands, a multifamily project, 3 stories. And right now we work with a factory that does steel frame construction, and you can go up to, I believe they with their specific designs, they can go up to 7 stories with that steel frame modular construction.
Wow.
That makes sense, probably in LA, wouldn't make sense probably here because it gets more costly the taller you go. But out in the cities where you have small infrastructures, and not to confuse it, but this SB 10 is another law that you can do up to 10 units on what used to be, I believe, a single family lot.
Exactly.
So that might make sense in some areas, and that's where that taller, higher density modular construction can come into play.
Yeah.
But the least expensive way to go is going to be with single story, single family, either manufactured or modular construction, just because it's a faster, easier, less expensive way to build. And when you have land like here out in the Inland Empire where you've got bigger lots, that's probably going to be your fastest, best bet because there's more product available for the single story. When you get into 2-story or multifamily, it really limits the number of factories that participate.
Exactly.
And their backlogs are longer and their pricing is more expensive. So it really depends on the ultimate goal. But if it's just single family homeowners manufactured or modular is going to be their least expensive, fastest product to build.
Yeah, which sounds great. We're going to go into our final break, and we're going to come back and wrap up our conversation with Bill regarding modular construction. I want to hit on a couple of issues that some of our clients have had with trying to go modular and see his solutions. And so stick with us, and thank you very much. See you back shortly.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Okay, we are back. This is the International Wealth Builder Show with your host, Dr. Sharon Barnes, today talking with Bill Kavanaugh from the U.S. Modular company, which specializes in doing modular construction for accessory dwelling units, small homes, multi-generational properties, as well as commercial. And so we have an expert here with the wealth of knowledge. We're going to ask a couple of questions from our clients that regarding modular and see if Bill can give us some suggestions on how we deal with that. The first one, we have some cities that are requiring that the accessory dwelling unit match the main house.
Sure.
And in a lot of cases, we have stucco homes. Sometimes we have tile or shingle roofs. Sometimes we have the clay lifestyle roofs. Can we adapt the modular construction on an ADU to match those type of sidings?
Yeah, sure. We've run into this half a dozen times in the last year where the city requires that the architectural style of the home matches the ADU. And that's kind of a loose term, the architectural style. We have added stucco. We can build a home what we call stucco ready. So you don't do stucco in the factory, with stucco on site. If they require a tile roof, we could put a tile roof on site. The architectural style itself, most homes here are fairly simple. It's a roof, a lot of composition shingle roofs. The product that we clad our homes with is typically a Cemplank hardy board product. It's made with cement board. So that matches a lot of the styles that we have. A lot of time, a lot of craftsman-y style homes here. And a lot of homes have mixed media for their homes. They might have some horizontal lap siding. They might have some stucco. So we can work with the factories to create whatever the city's going to require. A lot of times we don't just give in right away to the city by saying, no, you have to match 100%. Well, because if you're going to have to add stucco, that's an added cost a lot of people don't want to bear. So if we match the color, if it's a cemplank siding, if we put some horizontal lap that matches the front and the back, for the most part, that has satisfied the cities because the homes don't look completely different.
Right.
So we've been able to get that. But I mean, we can match whatever we need to: stucco, tile roofs, the style.
I went by the apartment complex you have here in Redlands, and to my eyeballs, it looks like stucco.
Yeah. Well, that is stucco.
Okay.
Yeah, it was stucco
Okay.
and a tile roof, and that was all done on site.
Okay.
So depending, again, we build it and we complete the project. It doesn't mean it has to be 100% built in the factory. In that Lagonia project, I would say 50% of the project was built in the factory.
Okay.
And then the balance was built on site. But the 50% we built in the factory still made it faster, still made it more affordable because you're on production lines, so you're duplicating a process. So you're putting in 87 bathrooms and you're putting in 87 kitchens, and so it's all there on a production line versus schlepping up 87 kitchen cabinets up to the third floor. I mean, there's just time associated with that.
Exactly.
So it's just a faster process, more efficient process. And one of the things someone asked, because sometimes people talk about factory housing or factory built housing as a lower quality type of housing. And I heard a story once, and I've used it over time. And they asked the story of a car, and someone said, I'm going to give you a brand new Ford Explorer to take your 2 kids to school in. A Ford Explorer A, I'm going to buy all the parts from the local supplier. I'm going to bring them into your backyard. I'm going to hire 12 independent contractors that are mechanics. And I'm going to give them a manual and have them put your car together. Or Ford Explorer B is built in the production line by a team that works together every day under a roof in a controlled climate environment. Which car do you want you to drive your kids to school? It's like, well, I want the factory car because it's a better built car. It's like, well, how do you want me to build your house? Well, obviously you want me to build your house in a factory because it's just a better built house because we have different technologies. We have teams that work together. It's in a controlled environment. It's just a better product.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So
that's
so I think the stigma of factory built housing is not warranted. They're quality products. They're going to last as long as any stick built home. Same materials, same products, same interior finishes. So we're very proud of the work we do, and we feel we bring people a good product at a good price. And that's why I think we have had some success, is because when you compare it to site built, our numbers are just, they're significant enough where people say, I need to take a look at this. And then again, it's personal choice, because I don't have, with factory built housing, there's certain things I can't do as far as architectural styles. If you want a real modern style home or something that's a little off the beaten path, it's probably better to site built that. But if it's a standard home, I mean, then I think factory built housing is more within the realm that people should take a look at.
Yeah, and I think that it will help them meet their goals, especially if they're looking for additional income or housing for parents. We have a lot of people that's trying to house parents, so it gives them a viable alternative that they can get relatively fast, and so I think that's very important. So another area concern has been access to lots where they need to. We mentioned earlier about modular, if you can't just drive it on the lot, that you can use a crane, but in some cases either options don't seem to work. Do you have any other alternatives to accessing the property?
Yeah, it's funny. I was up in a hill up in Orange County, and as I'm walking up to this project, I said, there's no way. There's no way I can get this project. So I'm there. I hike up the hill, get to this property site, and the guy says, I said, well, it's nice, beautiful view, but how are we getting up here? He says, well, I saw a picture of a helicopter bringing a modular home. I said, I have to leave. We can't do this. It doesn't make any economic sense. But, one of the benefits when Sharon does her site assessment and looks at the property, it really, if there's any question, how are we getting this home in the backyard, you really have to lay eyeballs on it. We have to look at it and see, do I have access to this backyard can I get it in with either a remote dozer that we can get into a backyard, or can I use a crane to get it in the backyard? There are instances where I can't. It might be power lines, it might be trees, it might be buildings, but I would, 90+% of the time we could get a house into a backyard.
Okay, that's great to know. Now, Bill, I know I'm so excited about modular. And we have a lot of clients who still like to touch and feel. Your website is great, usmodularinc.com. But do you have any locations or areas that we can actually go out and tour models of the products that you've talked about today?
Sure, we have our operations center, our sales office out in Calamasa.
Okay.
We have two models on site. We have a park model, a tiny home, and we have an ADU. I think it's about 800 square foot there. It's nice for people to touch and feel and see the amenities. And then from that point on, we could look at a lot of times as we build projects, we will send out newsletters and invite people to come watch us work. Look at the project. Look how we crane it in site. Look how we roll it in site. And once we get it on site, maybe 2 weeks later, we'll invite those same people back where they can walk into the home and touch and feel and see how it feels on the lot. But we try to give people as much access as possible.
That sounds great. And you're averaging about one installation a month right now, you said?
We are right now. We're doing between 3 and 5 a month.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that you connect with Bill with US Modular, and you can also follow me, Dr. Sharon Barnes, ADU Advantage, on social media, and we will let you know where the installations are. You will get an opportunity to come out and meet us in person and actually see the product and see whether it fits your backyard. So if you're ready to get started and interested in modular, I think that US Modular is definitely a resource and a team that you want to consider. Bill, is any other information that you think is important that we know for the next steps?
Well, I think the next step would be calling Sharon. I think because you have such a broad and wealth of knowledge on the whole process. And prefabricated might not be for everybody. You have,
Exactly.
You'd be able to guide your clients to the appropriate product that fits the yard, the budget, and their lifestyle needs. And if it's prefabricated, we'd love to help them. If you have, you have other site builders that you can direct them to and let people compare. I'm never going to try to sell anybody anything that doesn't meet their needs. So you can help them, guide them, and say, here's what prefabricated can offer you, and compare that to a site built, and then let the client make the decision.
Exactly. And as we mentioned earlier, accessory dwelling units can be garage conversions, which modular doesn't really meet that criteria. We can do ground up construction, detached or attached. And so, yes, if you reach out to me, Dr. Sharon Barnes, the number that you can reach me at is 909-708-5263. That's 909-708-5263. And also follow us on social media, Dr. Sharon Barnes Realestate.com or ADU Advantage on Facebook and LinkedIn. Book a call with me. Let's see what type of ADU you can put on your property, and I can help you, guide you to the right resources, help you put together the right team, and make it a reality. So with the accessory dwelling units, like I said, the laws are evolving. We're here at the end of the year in December. We have new laws coming in effect in January that's going to, again, evolve in this industry. We have more opportunities for investors. We're going to have more opportunities for homeowners to add more units. Bill, do you see anything coming on the horizon that you would like to mention?
I think this, the state does want ADUs, so it's not going away. It's only going to get easier and faster to build, and hopefully the cities adopt state laws and follow their lead, and we can get out there and help people get more housing.
Exactly, and I think the $40,000 grant that they had for accessory dwelling units was a success, especially in the sense of galvanizing the community to show their interest in accessory dwelling units. I understand there's over 5,000 people on a waiting list. We're hoping that our leaders reallocate that money so that accessory dwelling units can be built and help families and help our housing shortage here, because we know we have the homeless situation, and we really need to have every hand on deck to increase our inventory and make affordable housing available. So thank you again, Bill, for being here, and you can reach Bill and see more about US Modular at usmodularinc.com. And again, Sharon Barnes, 909-708-5263. And find me on social media, ADU Advantage, DrSharonBarnesRealEstate.com. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you in January to kick off a very prosperous 2023. See you next year.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.